Thank you so much for having me.
So, for those who are not familiar with you and who may not have heard your extensive catalog of amazing children's albums, the last one focused on the band books was my probably my personal favorite, but I loved your Christmas album. I all of them. Can you tell people about your art, your stuff, and how you got into children's music?
Sure. Well, I was doing the singer-songwriter thing for adults first. As most children's musicians, it's probably like the same sort of origin story. A lot of children's musicians get into writing music for kids because they have a child and then they're writing for their child. I started way before I had my daughter. So I think my first album came out in 2007, and it's most of the songs are about living in the city. But I think I really got into children's music because I was working at Gymboree playing music. I was managing the center and doing these parenting classes. And then I took that job because I wanted to be singing during the day. I was doing basically everything before that one can expect from a musical theater major and someone that's trying to make it in the singer-songwriter world. I was bartending, I was hostessing, waitressing, working, answering phones. I was an assistant at Miramax Film. I mean, you name it. I had these jobs, sometimes two or three jobs at a time. And it wasn't until I started working at Gymboree that I was like, I think I like writing for families and for children. And the kids would inspire me. So that's how I got into it. And so now I just put out my 12th children's album. So it's been a long time. I mean, there was a time where I was putting out an album almost every year. And then I got a little tired when I had my daughter.
That's what I was gonna say. That's an incredible pace. Like I can barely get like a song or two out a year now that I have kids. But it's funny that you have that same origin story. Like I heard, who was I talking to? Lori Berkner, and she's like, "Yeah, the adults in the East Village bars were not always so friendly. The kids are so nice. They were so appreciative of you playing for them. And yeah, you get to do some really cool gigs like during normal business hours. So
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I played at all of those clubs, CBGB's, Arlene's Groceries, Bitter End, like Living Room, Rockwood Music Hall, all those spots. I loved it, and it was great. And I'm realizing, okay, I'm not totally sure that this is going to work. And so how do I pivot? And it really was actually extremely organic that at the same time I was working for kids, and I'm like, this is really fun. This is so honest. Like these kids, they listen to the music, they like it or they don't. They tell you. Grown-ups don't do that. Grown-ups are like, oh, that was lovely. It was lovely.
I don't know about you, but my kids, when they will be honest if they like a song or not, they'll be like, "This one's pretty good. Like this one's bad, mom. You shouldn't ever play that." I'm like,
Yeah, my daughter does the same thing. I mean, she's honest about everything. Like, oh, your eye makeup is crooked, or your hair is, whatever it is. Like kids, they'll tell you, and I appreciate that honesty. And it's I think as for a songwriter, it's actually a really important thing to hear honest criticism.
so how did things change? Decided you wanted to go into children's music, family music, when you became before you became a parent. Then you actually became a parent. You said so. Before we
Yeah,
get to like your
but it
daughter
was
and her passion for singing and making music, I'd love to talk about that.
Well, it was many, many years later. So I was actually writing music for children back in 2006, 2007. I was also, while I was working in Gymboree, I was also starting to work in some nursery schools. And I
Okay.
still work in nursery schools. So oftentimes in these parent participatory programs where parents are in the room, sometimes they would say, "Oh, my child, they can't get dressed for the winter. We live in New York City, and I can't get them to get their coat on. Can you write a song about that?" And then all of a sudden, I come in the next day with a song called "Let's Go," and it's about getting your coat on, and your mittens, and your scarf, and your hat. And so, like, it really just kind of this path that I was on, and in the songs that I was writing, it was really steered by the audiences. So I put out songs that I think at the beginning more kind of like clap your hands, stomp your feet type songs. And then it really turned into what's going on in the world. How can I help children as they're growing? Because the beginning, the kids that I was performing for were 2 years old, 3 years old, and now they're growing up and they're getting older. So now I want to write songs that will be suitable for a 5 year old, 7 year old, 12 year old. All the Ladies was my female empowerment and gender equality album.
Yes.
Wrote that in the midst of like an insane divorce and a custody trial. So a lot of the songs that are happening and that were stirring around my mind during that time were really about like being a single parent and being there for my daughter in the midst of all of this craziness. She was only 2 years old at the time. So there was a lot. And I always say, and I say this in a lot of interviews, so I'm sorry if I'm repetitive
Oh my
in
God, not at all.
before, but like, Mr. Rogers always says that, it's about the way that you present the material for children, but you can talk to them about anything. It's just like the
Yeah.
way that you do it and the lens that you do it. And I feel the same way about the music. To me, it's like a really important thing to be honest with kids and what's going on in the world. It's just the way that you do it makes it age appropriate for them.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I want to talk about All the Ladies because that was a really big milestone moment for you. Like you got a Grammy. Like, do you have your Grammy? Like, is it like in your that room right there?
Here, do you want to say?
Yeah, I want to see your Grammy. I've never had like a one-to-one conversation with anybody who actually, wow,
Here it
how
is.
heavy is that thing?
It's very heavy.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Thank
The
you.
bass player in my band works for NBC and he has an Emmy. And but like the Grammy is really something.
It is.
That's
It was
awesome.
very exciting. That particular album, I had 20 women from all across the country come and contribute some beautiful vocals, and they did all the instruments, everything from the beginning to the end, the photography, the engineering, the producing, everything was female front. So it was a really incredible project to be a part of, but then it was also like just a group effort, really, when it came down to it. So it was a really beautiful moment, and then also to take what was going on in my personal life and to just kind of break through and come and the end result being an award given to me by my peers was just like a really special special moment.
I mean, it pretty much the message of the album is like you are all that you need. You can
Yeah.
summon your own power. And I think it's really the coolest thing I did think when obviously I love your voice. It's amazing. So, but in terms of like how you produced it, because I know there are a lot of, women fronted acts, but there's a
Mhm.
lot less attention paid to the women behind the scenes. And now we're starting to see it. Like when I saw Demi Lovato, she had an all female backing band. But before that, like you were like, you know what? No, I know women who can produce this, who are
Right.
instrumentalists. I'm not just going to be Joni, but like backed up by the same players. I'm going to try to bring in some new players who have maybe been sidelined a bit because of their gender. So I really appreciated that.
Yeah, and I think at the time, I think when I started my band, I just didn't know any female musicians that could be in my band. I had an all male backing band. And I had my drummer was my ex-husband, and he put the band together. So, in the music industry, it's very common for male musicians to choose their buddies, to choose other male musicians. And then I think that just keeps happening and keeps happening. It happens in the studio, it happens on the stage. So I was really adamant when I was writing this particular album. And really, the idea happened when I was at the Grammys in 2000, and I think it was 17 or 18. I can't remember the exact year, but only one female won an award that year, and it was Alicia Cara for Best New Artist. At the, I was sitting it was at Madison Square Garden. I was sitting in my chair, and only one female won, and I was like, "What is going on here?" And so that's really what the spark was to create that particular album. And I started writing notes like, "I'm going to write an all-female album, and it's going to have all female musicians." And so like that was, and I was also obviously in the middle of this situation in my personal
No,
life.
like end to end. Have you seen the Lilith Fair documentary yet?
I just did, and I
I just
went to
watched it
Lilith
last
Fair.
night. What?
Oh, I went to Lilith Fair as a
Me
kid.
too. I am a Gen X mom. I think I might be like 5 minutes older than you. I'm not gonna say, but yeah, I went there when I was younger, and it was just amazing, and it really had this like moment. It really just planted something, I think, in me as well.
Same with me. I know. I think as a Gen X female, you grow up in this world where I learned how to structure a sentence with he, him as the given, you know? I don't know if you learned that in elementary school. It's like that is how you structure a sentence. It has a he, him as like the default. I never questioned it. I never thought about it. I never thought about like all these male presidents. And it's like slowly as I got older, I'm like, wait a second with everything.
Yeah.
It's like you kind of have to learn this new world where it's like,
Yeah. My
oh,
friends who go to 12-step meetings, the 12 steps are all gendered, you know. So I hear you. I 100% hear you. And I do want to talk about the follow up to all the ladies because that came at a very like tense moment in time. You know, we're like still in COVID and we have, I don't know, the moms of liberty. I was about to say the sons of liberty who are starting to really critique like the literature we're choosing for our children.
mm-hmm.
Tell me about like that was scary and that was a very brave move because as I think a lot of musicians I know we try to not get into politics because it's hard. Like if you're Rage Against the Machine, yeah, you know you can get rally around the family, yeah, you can get people there who are progressive and just against the man, but in family music, I imagine it's trickier. Maybe not in New York, but
Yeah,
when
I
you
was
look
gonna
at like
say
internationally.
in our little New York bubble, I don't think it's that tricky.
Okay.
I think progressive politics have always been a part of my world. I think I it's really important to me to stand up for what I believe in, and I will always do that. I just feel like it would give my audience a disservice to not be truthful in what I believe, and if they don't like it, they really don't need to listen to it. So, as far as the banning of books, I'm from Miami, Florida. This was a an issue that was very near and dear to my heart. It still is. It's still an issue. It's still a problem. Um, they are banning books in libraries and in schools that had any sort of marginalized community that is the Black community, the queer community, the Jewish community, all different minorities, all different marginalized communities. Their voices were being silenced, and not just the contents of the book, but also the authors that wrote the book. So it was a really big problem, and I felt like it needed to be addressed. And I thought at the time it would be a really good idea to pick different books from all of these different communities that have been silenced and write musical songs and like kind of lift the idea of the book and then turn it into a song. So like I didn't take the lyrics and then turn it into a song. I kind of took the idea and then ran with it. And so that was Freedom, Freadom. And banned books happens, it's not the same week every year. It's kind of like a Jewish holiday, it moves around. So you have to look in the calendar. But it is this year, it is next, actually, no, it's next week. It's the last week of September going into October, I believe. Um, and it is, I think, a really good reminder for
Yeah.
parents to just not forget that this is happening in our country.
No, I feel like we need the sequel to that album like right now. Like I know you have another one we want to talk about, but the other thing about that album is that that was kind of the first moment like I saw um your daughter Joya. Like I remember you did a vaccine song which was awesome, and that was like a single, but suddenly she's finding her own voice. And I have to say I envy you. Like my kids, they want to play classical instruments. When they get home from school and I'm like shredding like an Eddie Van Halen solo, they're like turn it down. Like they think of rock and roll as like mom's old stuff. So with the exception of Queen. Um, but I can't play like Brian May. Anyways, my point is I want to talk about your daughter and how she got into her own voice and started being like, what mom is doing is like super rad.
Yeah, I mean, my daughter has always loved to sing,
Okay.
and she's got a really great voice, and she just started taking voice lessons this year. And actually, my ex-husband and I, we made a real point to not put her online in any way, shape, or form. I think it was about 4 years old. During COVID, I was doing all of these Zooms because what other choice did we have
Mhm.
at home? And so I was doing these live concerts, and it was impossible to keep her off of the screen. She just wanted to be with mommy. She wanted to be in the mix of things, and I had a really hard time, and I know I had a conversation. I was like, I can't keep her away like I'm doing a live, you know. And so that's kind of when I started to realize she likes it. I never want to force her into it. In fact, I always say like, let's just not take this very seriously. Let's just have fun with it. I'm
Mhm.
not sticking her into like conservatory based programs right
Yeah,
now or
yeah.
but she enjoys voice lessons. It's fun. When her voice teacher heard her for the first time, she's like, "Oh, give me a year, I'll have her on The Voice." And my daughter was like, "What's The Voice?" And I was like, "Don't worry about it. We're not doing that track. Like, if one day you want to do this, great, but we're not sending her to performing arts middle school, maybe high school. I don't know, but for now, it's just fun. She likes to be in the plays. But for the album, she's like, the album that I just put out, which I know we're getting to, she's like, I really want to be on more of the songs. I want to sing a solo. I want to
So
do it.
cool.
So she was asking me to
Yeah,
do it.
let's talk about the album. So,
Yeah.
tell us, repeat the title, and then let's tell us about the process of how you got your daughter involved in the story. I know I've
This
hearing
is,
ageless.
well, it's probably backwards, but this is Ageless, 100 Years Young. And it was inspired by my grandmother. That's her. That's Sylvia Firstman Newsonov. She's holding a picture of her younger
Who
self.
just turned how old?
100,
Wow.
100 years old.
That's such a blessing. That's amazing.
She's an amazing woman. She is full of life, positivity, optimism. She's brilliant. She has an incredible vocabulary. She found all of our family members through genealogical research. She taught other people how to do it, wrote a workbook that's at the Library of Congress. So she's like an incredible person. And a couple of years ago, actually, while I was releasing Freedom, I was down there for her 97th birthday and I started interviewing her. And I did video interviews because I just wanted to document her life and her stories. And so I knew someday, somehow, I was going to turn it into an album, but I wasn't exactly sure how. So I just kept on calling it like Bubbyisms or the Bubby album, or I didn't know what it was going to be. And then it was when my daughter said, I want to sing with you. Something in my mind clicked like, oh, maybe I could make it something where it's about my grandmother with my daughter and have it be intergenerational. And so that's how the idea for the album started. And then now that I knew I was going to be writing a solo for her or duets, I started writing as like in two parts instead of just me as the singer, which is a little bit different for me because usually it's just me. So that was a fun challenge, and yeah, and that's how it all
Just like so,
started.
like the harmonies, like you would, so you probably record a scratch track, I'm guessing, and then try to sing above it in her range and see if she could match that.
I actually sang the melody and she sang the harmony on some of them. Yeah, we've been practicing harmonies for about a year. She really enjoys doing that. I think it's like a fun game for her. And the first song that I wrote from the album is Grateful, and I wrote it for Thanksgiving. And And so that was like the first one that I wrote, and I didn't even realize it was going to go on the album, but it was kind of perfect because it has all of these nature elements that my bubby is like an ocean woman. She grew up at the shore and she loves sitting in the ocean and watching the beach and the waves and as we're moon people and star people, so it all just really worked to put that particular song on the album, and that was the first one that we ever harmonized to, my daughter and I.
That's great. She is in Baltimore now, right?
My bubby is from Baltimore, but she lives in South Florida.
Nice. Because my paternal grandparents, I'm Italian. They moved from well, first to Philly, and then they ended up settling in Baltimore, and it's just a
Oh,
great,
nice.
great
Yeah.
community. I loved it. Yeah, yeah. It's I wish they were still here. I wish I had thought of doing this myself, and I think I know that's something I think about a lot. you know, people aren't always going to be with us, and you captured those stories in your songs.
Yeah,
And it almost feels like the most personal project you've done. I mean,
yeah, I agree. I think
and
it
I hope other people see this and do something similar.
Well, that's what I've been trying to tell people. I've been trying to say there are so many different ways that you can get to know your family and make sure that these stories aren't lost. And obviously, writing an album is not for everybody, but
Yeah.
for me, it was the video recording and just the interviews. There's also these storybooks. I actually have my dad doing it right now, where you get like a weekly prompt question, and then you write a story or write a couple of paragraphs, and then at the end they turn it into a book, and then they publish the book, for your family and print it so that you can keep it for always. And so I love that idea as well. So I just, my grandmother, like I mentioned before, found our family that she didn't even know existed. And she did that in the early 90s because she was very curious and very good at surfing the internet before even anybody had a computer in their home. She
Gotcha.
was like, so she she found her three first cousins, and this story actually is in one of my songs called Genealogy that's on the album. But it was just like an incredible thing that she did. And then from there, she found hundreds of family members. I mean, like second, third, fourth cousins, and like, you know, it's insane. So she has rolls and rolls of our family tree and was able to find addresses not just from her family, but also my Zadie, my grandfather's side. So I was able to go down to Argentina back in 2009 with my best friend, and we went to his birthplace home. He was actually, my Zadie was from Russia. Their family escaped the pogroms. When they were coming to America, the president at the time turned them away because they were Jewish. And so they were, sent away to Argentina, and that's where he was born. And that happened to a lot of people at the time.
I need to
So
ask my best friend who's Argentinian and Jewish about that. I feel like
yeah, it's a
we
very
haven't
common
discussed it.
story. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
they were able to find a sponsor a couple of years later after my grandfather was a few years old. And then that's when they came over safely. So it's everybody's stories are just they're there, and it's just for the taking, but we have to get them down, otherwise they're lost. And that's really a big point of this album, is to connect generations, to connect the older generation with the younger generation, talk about the wisdom that the older generation could impart on the younger generation, and then also get these stories down.
My gosh, I wish I if you had more time, I wish you would like hold like a songwriting workshop on like I feel like so many people would gain from that.
Anytime, anytime. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be really fun to have people write their stories in a song, like their ancestry. That's a great
Your
idea.
story
You're
is so
giving me
interesting. So your is this your grandmother? Is she your maternal or your paternal grandmother?
maternal. Yeah, my mom's mom.
Wow. So like through Joya, that's like the mitochondrial DNA, which is
That's
very
right.
strong.
Yeah.
Like woman to woman,
Yes,
that's the lineage that gets traced
that's right. And she's just the
longer.
same. I mean, she's very my grandmother always says to be a leader, not a follower. And all through her childhood and her adulthood, she was always, the person that was making the plan or holding that
Yeah.
meeting and getting people around. And my daughter is very much a leader too, and I think we've got a lot of outspoken people. But I should also mention that the album is filled with her Bubbyisms, her quotes. She's always
Bobbyisms. That's
famous
cute.
for, yeah, she at one of her birthdays, I don't have it in front of me, but there's a book that they made of all of her different sayings. So a lot of those sayings are in all of my songs. So if you know, you know, but if you don't know, you wouldn't know. Like what's on your lung is on your tongue. That's another one that she always says. So that's in a
What does that one
song.
mean? That's interesting. What's on your long is on your tongue?
Basically, if you're thinking about it, you're saying it like you don't have a filter. I put it in the song Sweet Tooth. It's in the bridge. Don't worry, worry till worry worries you. Although I changed it to never worry, worry till worry worries you to make it a little bit more uh, rhythmic.
I liked
Basically,
that story because I was like looking at all your posts about the album, like the song a week, and I am like so in my head, like 20 steps ahead. Like, how are we gonna afford to budget to pay for braces in January? Like, I'm like, okay, we're in September. It's gonna be fine.
I know. I think going through the COVID experience and really having things be completely out of everybody's control and just like the world being canceled and not being able to do all of the things that you had planned. Like All the Ladies was released like the week that the world shut down, and I wasn't able to have my album released, but instead we had an online release and like 17,000 people showed up. So it's basically like you never know what's going to happen. You just have to kind of go with the flow. And I think COVID really helped my very type A personality. I'm very rigid and I'm not very good at being go with the flow, but my bubby is, and I just constantly try to put her voice in my head. Like, don't worry till worry worries you. Don't worry about things
Yeah.
unless you really, really have to. Stay in the moment. And then I put a couple of other quotes in there. Oprah is in my bridge, and me have heard of her. John Kabat-Zinn, he has this great quote about like it's not about the waves. It's how the boat that's on the I can't remember the quote on the spot, but I put a generalization of his quote in the song too. So I think a lot of people have these ideas and they have their special way of saying it. So I wanted to honor my bubby and put hers in there too.
No, that's awesome. So as I'm talking to you now, we are almost done with September. You have a ton of shows coming up. Can
Yes.
you tell us about where you're going to be?
Yes, yes, yes. So, a lot of you might know that I work with children in the secular world. I also work in the Jewish world, so I kind of go in and out and in and out and swerve and back and forth. So, right now, the high holidays, I am leading down in Miami. So, I just did Rosh Hashanah. I'm going back for Yom Kippur. And then I fly directly from Miami to DC, where I'm going to be at the Kennedy Center. I'm going to be doing a school show on Friday and then a public show on Saturday, the 3rd and the 4th of October. And then I fly back to New York, and then I'm down in Texas. Did I have that? Yes, Texas for Austin City Limits. That should be a lot of fun. I love playing Austin City Limits. And then I fly directly from Austin to Detroit, but we can't make it easy, so we go to Atlanta first because there's no direct flights to get to Detroit. And then I'm going to be leading a big, big temple concert for like 2,000 people there. So that might be the end of this madness in October. There's a lot going on in October, and it's my birthday month, so I'm just kind of
Oh,
like,
it is.
okay,
When
it's
is your
fine.
birthday? Can I ask?
The 21st.
Nice. There are a lot of great musicians in October. I know because I look up all the rock moms.
Yes.
Yeah, and now
Indecisive,
you're one of them.
creative.
Oh my God, I thought you were doing 6'7" because I
Oh,
have siblings, and
six,
that's like all they're
seven.
doing. They're like 6'7". I'm like,
No, I'm just doing like Gen X scales, Gen X scales. Yeah, Libras are
you know what
very
7 is?
6'7".
Yeah, have you heard this thing that the kids are
Oh yeah,
doing?
because I
Okay,
follow.
yeah, mine are like 11 and 13, so I don't know if like Joya has it, but
She doesn't do it. She just knows about it. I found out about it from Mr. Lindsay. I follow him on Instagram. He tells me he tells me all of the things that the middle schoolers are saying so that I could be in the know. Just hot tip.
no, that's good. I'm going to be following Mr. Lindsay because I try so hard to like level with them. I'll be like, yeah, I don't know about that song, Nathan. It's mid, and he'll be like,
It's sus.
oh yeah, God, I'm trying to think of final questions. Like, I know you talked about, the Jewish holidays. How can you talk a bit about how like your heritage and your culture influences your music? Um, we are a mixed faith household. My husband's Jewish. I was born Catholic.
Yeah.
Doesn't really not really big in mine, but I've noticed in some of your posts that it's like really important for you to connect the two.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up not very religious, but temple and being in the community, the Jewish community, was always like a really huge part of my upbringing. I actually didn't realize how big a part of it was until I was an adult, and then realizing, like, oh yeah, I did spend a lot of time at temple, like especially with Jewish music because I was in the choir, so I was singing all of the liturgy. And I was, I write Jewish music sometimes, so it is a huge part of my world. But I'm not very religious, but I do work in Jewish nursery schools because that's just what I know. I love it, and I love to teach the kids our ancestry and our heritage. I think it's really important to pass it down. As we say in our community, Lador Vador. Lador Vador means from generation to generation. And so that's a huge part of my Jewish world, but also it's a very huge part of my secular world, which do kind of intertwine here and there. So,
Nice.
um, yeah.
Well, thank you. This has been great. I really had a lot of fun getting to know you a little bit better, and we are excited for all of the things. And can you hold up your little album sticker one more time?
Yeah, this is a
The
magnet.
ageless. All right,
Can
cool.
you see it?
Yes, I will
There we
use
go.
my
All around the border, you'll see are
I
her
pen.
favorite things. So there's like a little candy for her sweet tooth, and the
Perfect.
radio for music, and the tree for family tree, and the Maryland crab, and all of her favorite things.
No,
Yeah.
this is really beautiful and really thoughtful. Well, thank you for taking some time to talk to me, and we will connect soon.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.